certain compounds that you take are already highly bioavailable,
Okay.
but certain ones aren't. Like CBD, you only absorb at best about 10% of the CBD that you ingest. So for some of these compounds that have high cost but low bioavailability, you need some system to get that in, to get higher bioavailability, meaning more of that compound that you ingest gets into circulation and gets to your cells and to your target organs.
So is that why there's some, hemp oil, CBD oils that are out there that are really expensive, have a really high, milligram count of CBD? Is that the reason you have to go crazy high, because they don't have the absorption?
Yeah, exactly. And so people get caught into this, what's the percent CBD in this and how many milligrams is it?
Right.
The key is how much you get in. In fact, in the nutraceutical industry, we say you're not what you eat, you are what you absorb.
Okay.
And so getting that bioavailability in, so you get high blood levels and fast bioavailability. Fast bioavailability means that you get a very high peak in the blood, and it's at that peak dose that you're hitting the receptors, that you're hitting the gene targets that are turning up antioxidant function. That's where you get the effect. That's why so many people try this oil, and even though they could take more of a different more CBD in another form, they're getting the effect finally by taking it in this format.
Yeah, Teresa, and you feel ours like immediately.
Yeah, that's it. The immediacy of it is what I like to talk about.
Right. Well, what are the other ingredients that you built into your formula? Is that a big part of the bioavailability? Or tell me about why you chose the ingredients you did.
Absolutely. We're not just throwing fillers in to make a higher volume of a product.
Right.
Everything in this formula is meticulously chosen to create the bioavailability. It's creating little spheres, little droplets of CBD oil wrapped in a membrane of phosphatidylcholine, a water-soluble vitamin E, and suspended in a water glycerin matrix. So when you take a pump, you've got these nano-sized droplets going right through the mucous membranes, right into the capillaries inside your mouth, and when you swallow, the capillaries along your esophagus and your stomach and your upper small intestine, and right into circulation, and that gets this big dose of it into the blood, so you get that immediate peak dose, and the total bioavailability is 4 to 6 fold higher than any other CBD product.
People ask about how much they should be taking of this. I take a ton of it every day. But for like a normal person, give us the guidelines.
That's the beauty of this. There's no overdosing. The more the better in most circumstances. But you'll get a good effect on your life from even 2 pumps a day if you have to do that little. And we were talking about that high, quick bioavailability, that peak dose, which is very important. But that's only going to last, 3 to 4 hours, and then it's out of the system. So if you want to keep those levels up throughout the day, 2 to 4 pumps 3 times a day blankets the whole day with it, and that's the most common way that people are using it. Okay. Some people are only using it at night to calm things down, but usually that 2 to 4 pumps 3 times a day covers most problems you're trying to address.
Okay. One question we get a bunch is about TPGS.
Yeah.
Where people say, "Oh, this is horrible. It's this this petroleum product." Or,
it was made by Lucifer himself.
Exactly. That's right. We borrowed it from him. So.
Yeah. So TPGS. What is TPGS? TPGS is water-soluble vitamin E, and what people get afraid of is the part of it that's polyethylene glycol, and this is the part that makes it water soluble, and they associate it with things like polysorbate 80, polysorbate 60. These are food additives that have some negative aspects to them, but it's not the polyethylene glycol, it's actually the contaminants in it. And the cheap food grade polyethylene glycols have these contaminants in them. Okay. Now, why did they make TPGS? Why did they make a water-soluble vitamin E? This was for children who were cholestatic. That means that that they can't make bile. And if they can't make bile, they can't emulsify vitamin E and absorb vitamin E. So these children were vitamin E deficient, potentially lethally deficient.
Okay.
They had to make something that they could take very large amounts of over a long period of time. In fact, they were taking 2 to 6 grams of TPGS per day for up to 2 years to replete their vitamin E stores.
Wow.
Now, that's 1,000 times more than you're taking in a lot of these dosages.
Right.
And to do this, they had to use an extremely high grade of ingredients, and these ingredients are 15 to 20 times more expensive than the food grade ingredients, and that's how they had these exquisite safety profiles. In fact, there's more safety data on the TPGS than there is on really any other ingredient other than maybe water in the formula, and there's more safety data on that than pretty much any other dietary supplement that's out there, and that was because of its use as a medical food in those situations. And as such, it's been used in dietary supplements and pharmaceutical formulations as a solubilizer, and that's where we got that. That's why we use that. That's why a guy like me, who was an organic farmer for years, I wasn't even just organic, I was biodynamic, like serious. That's why I can get behind such an ingredient.
All right, a couple more questions on ingredients. What about the phospholipids?
So phospholipids are parts of cell membranes, and in fact these are the same components that you make your own cell membranes out of. In our case, using them as an ingredient, they've been isolated from sunflower seed oil. In oil refining, there's what's called lecithin, which is about 15 to 20% phosphatidylcholine, and that gets refined upward until we have a product that's about 95% pure phosphatidylcholine, and that's the basis of our delivery system. That's the core of the membrane, or the core ingredient in the membrane that's wrapping around these little nano droplets of CBD oil. And the beauty of that is the delivery device itself is a great nutrient. In fact, we use just pure phosphatidylcholine all the time for liver health, for brain health, for building all the membranes in your body, and building membranous organelles like mitochondria, which are just built out of phospholipids, and they drive all the reactions in the cell. So here you have a carrier that's creating the bioavailability,
right,
but it's a nutrient in its own.
Okay. Is it tough to work with the molecule? Is it tough to work with CBD?
It's tough to work with everything that we do, and that's our expertise has put us ahead of the rest of the competition because we've learned how to use all of these things together. A lot of people think that, oh, I just put some phospholipids and some MCT and some CBD together and I'll have a liposome or a hydrosome, or they make up some other word like they made up the word hydrosome.
Right.
And we've looked at these products and they're inherently unstable. You put them in a centrifuge, they break into all these different layers, and all they really are is mixtures. They may give a little bump in bioavailability, but it's really small. You really need the expertise to create these distinct, discrete particles in a totally stable system that's stable for years in order to get reproducible, effective increases in bioavailability.
So there's no one else really in the world doing nano-emulsified oil at this point?
No, not commercially. There might be
Right.
a couple of guys in the universities in Israel who know how to do this, but in the commercial market, there is nobody who knows how to do this except us.